Festival of Trees, yay, we have flyers over there. That's being held at the Waterville Elks Lodge this year. It's at the Elks Lodge this year. 76 Industrial Road, Waterville. It's November 17, 18, 19, and then 24, 25, 26. I think we're up to like 56 or 58 trees, so it's going to be, that's the most we've ever had since we've taken it over. I think that's probably right up there with the most. So it's going to be gorgeous. Everything's the same as always, 50 cents a ticket, $2 to get in, under 12 is free. If you want more information, you can go to festivalofTreesMaine.net. Join us for our next leadership luncheon, the final one of the year. It's Wednesday, November 29th, and it's featuring our own Don Plourde, who's a broker co-owner of Coldwell Banker Plourde Real Estate. He's in the house. See, they're cheering for you, and you haven't even done anything yet. He is going to share his leadership journey, both his challenges and his successes from his days growing up in Central Maine to where he has risen to today. We hold our luncheons at Amici's Cucina in downtown Waterville from 11:30 to 1. And we're having a Meet the Reps event to meet the new elected officials and reconnect with the seasoned ones on Thursday, December 7th. We're back at the Hampton Inn on Kennedy Memorial Drive, and again, that'll be from 5:30 to 7. It's free. It's open to the public. It gives you an opportunity to hear legislative updates from the elected officials, both local and state. Did I say it's free and open to the public? It is. It still is. It's not written here, so I said it twice. The next business breakfast is being held here on Thursday, December 14th. It'll be our final one of the year. The speakers are going to be members of the Growth Council team and TRC companies. They're going to cover some of the economic development resource programs out there for businesses to take advantage of and new startups, including but not limited to the Department of Economic and Community Development's ERIH program, which is a grant program. They're giving away COVID money. And there's, because you have to qualify, they're going to go over Brownsfield grant program and how that works, and just talk about general economic development resources that are out there to help your business. It'll be, again, here, 7:15 to 9. You can register with Cindy or any one of us at the chamber office. And our next business after hours, the December one, because we don't have one in November, will be at O'Donnell Lee, PA, I want to say McCowan and Phillips. Their new office is over at 325D, the old doctor's complex on KMD, December 13th from 5:30 to 7. Today's presenter is Terri Swanson. Terri will focus on the nature of conflict resolution in the workplace. I can see this is a popular topic based on our turnout today. When we were discussing topics, when our committee was reviewing them, one of the members suggested, can we do one on, conflicts and trying to solve disputes in the workplace. He said, "Oh, your employees fighting." She's like, "No, people just walk in mad. We haven't even done anything yet." Like, we haven't even touched them. They just walk through the door and they're cranky. So how do we handle that? And I'm like, "Yep, that's a good one." So we have a microphone, as you may recall, that we circulate around. We ask that you wait for that. If you have a question, raise your hand, because we are live streaming this right now, and we are taping it, editing it, and putting it up on YouTube, and rebroadcasting on local access cable channel in the Greater Waterville area. So please wait for the mic. At this time, I would like to introduce Michelle Jolalabi. Are you introducing her, or am I introducing her? Okay, I'm reading what this says. I'm not introducing Michelle. I am going to introduce our speaker, but I need the thing. Oh, that's what I was doing, and you said you weren't doing it. No, I said I am. Oh, well, I was doing it right then. At this time, you got to edit this out, Chad. Sorry, live stream audience. I just got back from vacation. I'm a hot mess. Michelle Jolalabi, the Vice President of Human Resources and Diversity for Thomas College and Chair of our board of the Mid-Maine Chamber, is going to introduce Terri for you today, and I'm going to get out of the way. Michelle?
Good Morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It is my pleasure to introduce Terri Swanson. Terri Swanson is a human resources consultant, proud to have served as Director of Human Resources at Witham Family Hotels for 8 years and Director of both the Volunteer Services and Maine Coast Lifeline departments at Maine Coast Memorial Hospital for 10 years. She is a long-standing member of the Society for Human Resource Management, serves as a board member for Northeastern Workforce Development Board. Her most recent accomplishment was receiving her woman-owned small business certification from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Terri resides in Trenton, Maine, with her 2 children and 4-legged furry friend, Hazel May, her doggie. People are Terri's passion, and she feels blessed to have spent her professional life working to inspire and grow her teammates and coworkers. She has extensive experience cultivating a healthy company culture and developing employee engagement and morale in the workplace. She places immense value on servant leadership and encourages education and building your people at every opportunity. Please join me in welcoming Terri.
That lady sounds interesting. Yeah, I do always, love to get my 4-legged furry friend in there because she's pretty special. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here with you all today. It's so interesting, Kim. It was a year ago that we interacted, and so I'm thinking, gosh, that's so far away, and here we are already. So I'm just delighted, and first of all, I'm a huge advocate and fan of Chamber of Commerce's. I've been involved with them since I was in my early 20s. And so that's been just a few years. So got to get a big shout out there for Chambers, especially here in the state of Maine, because I feel like they work so hard to make so much happen for small businesses, medium size, and I just feel like it's a great opportunity to bring people together. So thank you, Kim, and your team for everything that you do. Conflict. Wow, I'm sure no one here has any conflict in their lives or workplaces or world, or just by the show of hands, who might have a little conflict going on? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's interesting because in my experience, conflict can be a very good thing. I love debating. I like having good conversations, and I really enjoy hearing the opinions of other people. And quite honestly, I really like to come up against those people that come in the door already upset and angry, because you really could have fun with them if you wanted to. No one coming in that state of mind wants to see, good morning, how are you? Because it's just like, they don't really like it. So essentially, if you really want to have fun with conflict a little bit, you really truly can by just, prodding at people with that bright sunshine or what have you. Also gives you a good lift. So I thought it would be fun today to take an assessment as well, to which we can all find out. There's 5 styles of ways to in conflict, 5 styles of conflict. But before we do that, I really wanted to just share a little concept with you all that was really, we have life changers and we have game changers. And this was a game changer for me many years ago when I learned it. And I've often found that it's extremely useful in the nature of conflict or just in conflicting situations. And so I'm primarily going to ask us to have our positional hats on today. So for me, this concept was so powerful, and I'm a writer, so I always like to be able to put it up on the board. But person versus position. And so realistically, we're 2 people. Like I'm 2 people. I'm a different person at home I'm Terri the mother and Terri the daughter and Terri the friend and what have you. And so I'm a bit different outside of work than the Terri that shows up in the morning at work. Now, be mindful, I didn't used to. She used to show up all the time, but it was because I didn't realize that I was actually two different people and that I had to be mindful of those two hats. And so Terri, the person, good, I didn't even spell person correctly. My goodness. Well, there, see, I need another cup. I need another cup of coffee.
We're all going.
Thank you, thank you, and thank you. As I turn around and look, well, it's ironic when you get up here and you're doing the writing. So Terri, the person, emotion. You know, I'm much different at home in the way of how I interact with my children, with my family and what have you, than I am coming to work every day, because Terri in the position is responsibility. I agreed when I came, ILLTY. See, when you get up here, it's a bit different. I have a responsibility at work in my position. So if I show up over here, then more than likely I'm probably going to show up each day making decisions in the workplace based on my personal emotions and how I think and what have you. And so when I joined the world of human resources, I quickly learned this concept from a wonderful mentor of mine, and it was really, truly very game-changing for me, because I didn't even realize that I often would show up in that emotional, like, and I'll give you an example. In the world of HR, in case any of you might not recognize this, we occasionally have to end work relationships with people, and it's not fun. And so when she shows up at this meeting to end, and I have never, ever fired or terminated a person in my life. We've only ever ended work relationships, because I believe in words and how you think matters. And so if I'm showing up each day agreeing to this thing called a responsibility for the position to which I've agreed to, then conflict is probably going to be a lot more challenging if she's showing up. Because I have this thing called an emotional meter, and we all have it, every one of us. And if I can keep my emotional meter percolating down here instead of up here, then I'm probably going to be able to fulfill this responsibility a bit easier. It doesn't mean that I ever like ending work relationships at all. But if I went into ending a work relationship with someone, oh, I'm so sorry, don't want to do this, Kim, but we have to. And, you know, lack of confidence, I'm not fulfilling that level of responsibility, and most often conflict is going to be even worse. And so when I recognized the differences between these two, it was really interesting, because the person I'm sitting with, who we are potentially ending the work relationship with, this is who they see sitting there. They don't even know who she is. They don't know me because I don't bring my person to work every day, which makes my ability to do what I need to do a bit easier. I never like it, and if I've done it 150 times, the 150th was as hard as the first, but I'm much more composed. My emotional level is much more in check, which means that the level of conflict between the two of us is going to be much less than what it would be if I come in with my emotional meter in a place to where it's not going to be useful, productive, or beneficial to any of us. And so even when Sabrina, who we are ending our work relationship with, is angry at me and has words that maybe could easily get me up here, I know where I am and I know who she's speaking to. She's not speaking to Terri, she's speaking to me, the position. So I can manage it so much easier. Now, reversing this, I sometimes come home from work and I forget to turn the hat around. And so my family is like, yeah, no, we're not interested in that HR lady at home, okay? Like, we just want mom. So I like have to switch that hat back to get in here, because sometimes I could come home and I'm in that mindset, in that mode where it's not mom, it's Terri, HR person. So it's very interesting in learning to flip back and forth, because realistically, I still have a position at home because I'm still mom. And if my kids get me over here, then guess what? They get the keys to the car, and they get my wallet, and they get, sure, you can go and do this and you can go and do that. So it's very interesting, because I still need to be mindful that I take being a mom, I have a responsibility in being a parent. So it's a tricky little thing, but it really helps in the way of dealing with conflict and managing it much more. So today, I want us to be in our position hats, because I brought an assessment that I thought would be interesting, because and some of you may have already taken one of these assessments, but I think it's interesting to have some sort of idea of where we are in the way of conflict styles by nature. And please recognize there's no one style any greater, better, worse than the other. It's just recognizing those 5 styles and how to use them. So you have a little 15 statements here. And so what I'd like you to do is go down through these 15 statements and answer, give a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, or a 5 to each of these. And again, being mindful that keep your work hats on and not necessarily your personal hats. And then once you finish that, you'll see underneath it, if you go over to the 5 styles, there's letters there, and just put the number that you put for A, for B, for C, and then you have 5 total. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes to go down through those. Don't overthink it. You'll see after that the results where your primary and dominant conflict style is, and it's going to be your lowest of the 5, and then your secondary will be the second lowest. You didn't know I was going to make you work this morning, did you? Each of the styles, as you will see the 5, there's certainly pros and cons to all of them. There's ways to utilize each of them in various different ways, and certainly in a variety of different circumstances. Yeah, so, and you'll see we've put these nice little creatures next to each of the styles, which I always think is always interesting. No rights and no wrongs, but how many sharks do we have in the room? Oh, for the first. We'll see. Yes, thank you. For the first. How many owls do we have in the room? Nice. How many turtles? How many teddy bears? I love it. And how about those foxes? Nice. Nice. So very interesting, because again, I share with you that all styles, very important. We just need to be mindful of when to use them. I think of how many people, when they see avoiding, go like, I'm not an avoider. I don't avoid it. Well, it's interesting because when I've done this activity with a few business owners, this one particular fella in the Brewer area, before he even finished, he could see avoider, and he's like, I'm not an avoider. And I'm like, let's not get into conflict here. I'm not gonna argue with you. But it's interesting because I think that, first of all, when we think of the word avoiding, and I tried to share with him, remember, words have variety of different meanings. And avoiding really is just being able to avoid any sort of confrontation, because you really don't need to win the conversation. And actually, avoiding is my second. My first is accommodating as well. And I often, and of course this has come with age, at 21, I probably was more in the way of competing than I am in the way of avoiding. But today it's so interesting because I don't need to win a lot of conversations. So I'm just going to say, you know what? Sure, Sabrina, you're right. And then they're like all ruffled up and going, what do you mean I'm right? Like, people are ready for that confrontation. And I find that to be even the customers coming into our businesses and what have you, that maybe have had an experience that was less than what they wanted, and they're ready for that confrontation. And then we're just like, oh my goodness, like, we wronged you. I'm so sorry. And they're like, what do you mean? They're just not ready for that sort of response. And so oftentimes we do use the avoiding style without even recognizing, what it is. And so when we think about these styles, it's really a scale of where, passive, assertive, and aggressive. And when we can just sort of recognize some of the situations to which we're in, what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for two things in any sort of confrontation, two things that are very important. We're looking for results and relationships. What is it that we want in the way of results from this conversation? Sometimes we do need to win. So it can be that passive approach to where it's a you win, I lose, because I don't need to win. And losing not meaning I lost the whatever, it's just that I'm all good with avoiding and accommodation in a particular situation. There are times that we do need to be a bit assertive. And be in the way of compromise and collaborating. And there's certainly times that we need to be aggressive in the conversation. Wouldn't you think if somebody were if somebody were practicing unsafe behavior in the workplace, or they were not following an SOP, a standard operating procedure that could affect safety, you probably would want to win that conversation because it's important. So it may be, and I love role playing and I like hypotheticals because I feel like it's a little bit more, and Sabrina, you're my person I'm picking on today. But if I had to have a conversation with Sabrina, if I saw her coming into the parking lot at work a little too fast and hits the brakes because there's people, and then I meet with her later, I say, Sabrina, help me to understand. I'm a little confused because you coming into the parking lot like that this morning, not okay. That's a bit more aggressive because I'm not going to allow that. These are our people, and safety matters. So me, who tends to be a bit more here for the most part, I'm going here in this particular. I'm not going to be disrespectful, and I'm not going to be unkind, but I'm going to be a bit more aggressive with you. Now, if I have, you want a week off and for vacation, and you come to me and you say, Terry, I know I just had vacation 2 weeks ago, but I need another one. I've scheduled it, and it's really pressuring our workplace or what have you. It might be a conversation that we need to find a win-win because Kim is important to us. Naturally, her vacation is important, but we have this thing called work that's important too. So I might have to, be, well, Kim, you just had vacation a couple of weeks ago. And while I understand, you're having vacation again, this really puts us in a bit of a challenge here at work because it's hard to put somebody in your position 3 weeks later. So in the future, we're probably going to have a conversation about this before you go and book a vacation 2-3 weeks after you already had one. And so I'm, keeping that connection. I'm going to collaborate with her because she's already booked it. And what am I going to do? But I'm not going to go, oh, I'm so glad you took another vacation. I'll just fill your position while I'm filling mine. That accommodating. Not that that would ever happen. But, you have to be very mindful about the conversations because the results that we're looking for here, I want it to be a win for her, but certainly a win because we have this thing called work and business. But in the same sense, I need to get my message across to her in, again, respectful, kind manner that she recognizes we're not going to travel down this path again. And so being in that more passive accommodating in the way of relationships, relationships are so important to me. So many times I won't respond with something because I want to make sure that the results from this conversation are good. In the world of HR, again, Michelle knows this as well, relationships for both she and I who work in a profession that can be very, very challenging. Any of you who have employees and have to play your own HR role, you understand this as well. But I live and work in the same community. And people that we're having to end work relationships with, I'm seeing at the grocery store. And I'm seeing them in my kids' schools. And so when I'm thinking about the importance of relationships and the results that I want to get, that's where I'm very mindful of where I am on this person and position, because relationships and people really matter to me. When I tell you people do some really silly beanhead things at work, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've experienced the most greatest, wonderful people who've had significant changes in their lives at home, who come to work and start behaving in a manner that it's out of our control. It really is. Good person, they mean well, but their behavior at work, not okay. So for those reasons, we have to end the work relationship with them. It's very hard to do that because it's they're good people. I can't change your behavior. I can influence it, but I can't change it. And so, but we end this work relationship, and then I see your wife at the store, and I see you at the store. I really want my relationship with these people to still be healthy. Like, it's not my fault that this relationship had to end at work, but I still very much care about you and my relationship with you outside of work. Chances are we've tried to redirect you, but because of all the circumstances going on in your world, we just were unable to do that. And so we're not going to let you fail by keeping you in a position that's going to continue to cause conflict, but we're also not going to put ourselves in a position to where everyone else is watching us tolerate behavior from someone else, because it really just doesn't work. Everybody's failing on both sides when that happens. So being mindful of the levels, I mean the styles here, people often don't even recognize. I love to just tell this one story because when I first went to the hotel industry in the way of HR, there was this wonderful fella who had been there for a very long time. And if he's listening or he sees this, he's already going to know it's him that I'm talking about, because I tell him, he's heard me tell this story so many times, but it's because it's a story that is so relevant to this whole thing. So this particular person, again, been there for a very long time, probably 85% of the time, there he operates right there. You would see him, and smart man, oh my gosh, amazingly smart fella, facilities manager, just a wonderful guy. But his nature, by nature, is he's right there. So I had only been working at the company for about 6 months, and I was out trying to just build relationships and what have you. And for whatever reason, he always referred to me as Miss Terri and what have you. So I would say to him, Harvey, stop, don't talk like that. And he would be like, "Rrr," and you would see him going across the parking lot in this hotel, and he would be grumbling, and he'd be yelling at himself, and he'd be just so smart. This guy could do anything in the way of facilities and what have you, but most of his people didn't dare to approach him, because when they did, he would be like, and they would be like, "Why are you so?" "I'm not upset." And they're like, "Oh, okay. So then one day, I pulled into the parking lot, and I saw him coming across the parking lot. He was kicking all by himself, grumbling, what have you, and I thought, I've had it. I care about this fella. I really like him. I really enjoy, his intelligence and what have you. And so I thought, I'm going to go have a conversation with him. And I'm going to work hard to stay in this arena and not that one. So I came, walked across and I said, "Good morning, Harvey." "Good morning, Miss Terri." And I'm like, "Harvey, why are you," I have to have a conversation. "Why are you always so angry?" "I'm not angry." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, just for the record, I'm no longer going to have any more conversations." Now, keep in mind, I'm thinking results and I'm thinking relationships. I said, "I'm no longer going to have conversations with you because you're absolutely the toughest person to approach. You cannot use language that you've used in the past in front of me anymore, and anytime you do, I am going to ignore you, and I'm no longer not going to have a conversation with you anymore." And I said, "Furthermore, Harvey, you're one of the most intelligent, smart people I know. And every time you speak and you talk like this around other people, they see your intelligence and your smartness and all that you've done as less. And that just makes me feel so sad that a person that's been in this industry as long as you have." And he's just like looking at me, and he was like, "Wow, no one has ever said that to me before." And I said, "Well," and honestly, truly inside, I was shaking. I was quivering because I felt like I stood up to the person and what have you, but no one had ever really stopped and showed him that they cared enough about him. They had never said to him how smart, how intelligent. It's all he ever knew. Nobody ever stopped him. So for the next 2 years, here comes a fella. And people are going, what is wrong with Harvey? And he's like, oh, Miss Terri says. And so my point of sharing this with you is we cannot change. You're not going to change the people in your workplace. But by goodness, you can influence them. And it's the influence that every one of us has to utilize these here to find those more win-win conversations, as opposed to you lose, I lose, we don't even like each other anymore, you're not helping me, you're not helping anyone else, and quite honestly, you may just opt out of working here, or you might stay and continue to make things very, very challenging and tough for us here. So I think that it's so important that we recognize that we have these 5 styles that we can utilize if we just are mindful of this emotional meter. If you have to go into a tough conversation with someone, check yourself. Terri, am I going in here all emotional, or do I have my emotions in check? This is a position, this is my responsibility, this is what I need to do. My goal is to have a good outcome from this conversation, but I need to stay mindful that I may have to be a bit more assertive as opposed to being accommodating in this particular situation. It's very interesting, again, if we can just be more mindful. I went into the dry cleaners last week to pick up some dry cleaning. Half was here, half was not. The fella is very often used to people not being so nice. And so when I said to him, I was like, oh, it's just dry cleaning. Like, no worries. He was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's just, and he's like, well, we got 3 pieces of it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful. And I go, you know what? You know what? You know what he was doing? He was right there in that whole accommodating, trying to, and I just said, thank you so much. Like, you're doing great. You're doing great. And he was like, well, I wish some of the other people that come in here would, occasionally. So we're just so used to being in our own worlds and our own needs and looking for results that satisfy and meet us, instead of recognizing and realizing that we don't have to get into conflict over dry cleaning. But because the person is coming in with all of the emotions, and honestly, people don't often care what the results are or what the relationship is with that fella, or gal behind the counter, because we're not even thinking about them, because it's all about us. And that, to me, is where, even in our workplaces, when I say people matter to me, they matter. They matter. The grumpy, the crusty, the prickly, the smiling, we have no idea what is going on in the lives of people outside of our workplace. No idea. That was my Mainer. I saw that R, idea. Ooh, yeah, we have no idea. And I think if we could just be a little bit more mindful, and as business leaders in our workplaces, in our communities, we have the ability to influence people in a great way. Family, it's hard at home. We all know that. The world is, we've got 5 solid generations in the workplace today, but just be mindful that the 14-year-olds that got work permits this past summer, they're the 6th generation coming into the workplace. So that in itself brings about a bit of conflict. People are not doing, these youngins, they're not doing it the way I did it, and, what's wrong with them, and they're lazy. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Why are you calling them lazy? Well, because I've done 3 times the amount of work. Okay, well, you've been in the workplace for 40 years, and they've been in the workplace for 4. So why would you be expecting, and they're like, don't you be siding with them. I say, oh, well, we need all of them. So there's so many aspects to the workplace, and there's so many contributing factors in the way of challenging workplace. I see it as two different ways in the workplace. A person is it's either behavior or it's performance that we're dealing with, those two things. And so if you have people in your workplace that are behaving in a manner that's not adding value to your workplace culture, what can you do about it? You're not going to change it, because we don't change people's behavior, but we can influence it. And if we can just be mindful of ways to influence it, such as, there isn't anyone today in the workplace, and I'm just using workplace, every single person is doing at least one good thing. Showing up to work, greeting a customer, moving a piece of paper. So if we can sort of focus on the good things people are doing in the workplace and then redirect the behavior or the performance that they're not doing, but we tend to come out with, how come you're not doing this? And you were 5 minutes late. Well, if we've allowed them to be 5 minutes late, get ready for conflict, because it's going to happen. But if we say, Sabrina, this is day number 2 and you've been late. What's going on? Is everything okay with you? Because I want to make sure that the person, maybe it's real, because I've seen a lot of real moms not being able to come to work till, they're 15 minutes late, because it's either leave the 2 kids standing on side of the road to get on the school bus or be late for work. Well, I want my employee putting their kid on the bus. I'd much rather you were late. But maybe we need to make a bit of an accommodation to your work schedule, because your kids matter to me, as do you. But instead, we're oh, that's Sabrina, she's late again. And then 3 days later, she's late again, and now we're mad, and then we're getting over here, and we're getting up here, and what is it? What's it serving? I believe in check-ins. I certainly have not been a stellar employee my whole life. As I've learned, I've tried to do better, or what have you. And so I think checking in with our people makes it just makes the conflict so much better. Because if you can get ahead of it, then you can show Sabrina that you care by saying, what's going on. And she says, oh, well, I just got up late. And I say, okay, so remember this thing called responsibility. Remember this thing called 8 o'clock work. So can I trust that you, from this day on, this is the second time we've had this conversation, I care about you. You're part of our team. We need you. Can I assure that you're going to commit to being to work on time? And I'm going to stare her. I'm going to smile, and I'm going to look at her, and she's going to say, yes, Miss Terri, I promise. And so I say, okay, you know what? I'm a committed person, and I'm responsible, and we hire committed, responsible, so I'm going to hold you to that, okay? Because I don't want to have another conversation with you about this. She says, okay. I've seen people redirect so many times because I showed them I cared about them. They matter to my team. It reduces that level of having to deal with conflict in the workplace by just having a conversation. If we have to have another conversation regarding this, I'm probably going to say, I'm not so sure, Sabrina, that you're a good fit for us. Good person, appreciate you trying, but there's a level, we have standards here, and work is work at 8 o'clock, and it's not work at 10 after. And so today we've made the decision to end this work relationship with you, and we wish you the best. Thanks for giving it a try. Again, keeping in mind, I want my relationship with Sabrina, whether we end the work relationship or not, to be good, I'm going to be respectful, going to be kind, because has anybody out there ever crossed a bridge to where you had some boom, boom, boom with someone and you go like, oh no, like applying for a job and you didn't have such a good ending of a relationship with somebody 3 years ago and now you see that they're on the panel of interviewers and you're like, oh hey, how you doing? You're looking good. You know, you're starting to do some of that buttering up. I have to tell you that I much prefer just stepping back because I don't need to win this. I don't need to win this. My relationship with you is more important than ending it in a way that when we see each other in another environment, we're not going to. And I have to say that I take my role in the way of human relations and human resources very serious. I'm very proud of that. Do I have some people out there that, you know, still don't talk to me? Yeah, absolutely. But do I ever hold my head in any other way than straight up? Because I know I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing. We've never ended a work relationship with someone because I didn't like them. Ever. It was always because it was no longer a good fit for this company that I'm serving. And reality is, people were not all going to be a good fit. I've worked in a leather gallery one time, and about 4 days into it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a talker, and this machine is doing nothing but causing me grief, and it's not talking. So I knew we were not a good fit. Definitely not a good fit. And so I didn't really care as much about it because of not being a good fit.
COVID wasn't a good fit.
Well, you know, it really wasn't. It really wasn't. And but I have to tell you, I'm good at talking to myself as well. Yeah, fortunately enough, I wasn't out of it. I mean, I was in the field still a lot. 90% of the work I do is in the field. And so for that, I'm extremely grateful. So I'm just curious because I love to just hear, you know, thoughts, questions, or anyone who has, maybe you don't, but does anyone have any sort of a conflict at work or a situation at work that's a bit challenging that we could just maybe talk about a little bit? Because I always love doing the interactive because I feel like we all learn from it all the time. And don't be shy. I know, yeah, nothing's perfect in everyone's world. All right. What's that? Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm probably the cause of it.
Well, we can, yeah, honesty is very, very good. Yeah. No, yeah, well, how about this? Anybody have high turnover in their businesses? Sure. And so high turnover being because not a good fit, or high turnover being because workplace culture maybe is a little more challenging, or?
We support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Yep.
Can to the mic 'cause it doesn't, yeah. So we support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we have a very high turnover in our direct support professionals. It's a really tough job. There's mandatory overtime. It's a low pay rate because we have a cap that the state will pay us, and it's really challenging work. And so there is, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of turnover. Yeah. And understandably so. It's interesting because I think that there are specialized fields and then there's generalized. I live in the world in the generalized, doctors, nurses, more specialized fields. That to me, again, is a very specialized field, and it's not a good fit for everyone. It takes some really incredible skills and abilities, to work with people, and so it's interesting with that because finding the right fits with people is so important in your industry.
And honestly, this is really hitting home because I think a lot of it is they're constantly having to avoid conflict because the people that they're supporting, they're trying to assist them in building skills. And so there is that constant avoidance of conflict of trying to support someone to build up a skill set while not pushing too far.
Right.
And so I think that some of it might be that they could really benefit from some kind of conflict management of their own, understanding that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, because we're reactors. I mean, when I say to you that I try to stay in my normal my normal style, you can have to go from accommodating to aggressive on a dime. People come at you, or somebody completely takes you by surprise, or we all have buttons. I know you all know we have buttons that immediately. There was a person I worked with who they couldn't stand anyone doing something like, I'll just say they considered it to just be like, that was so stupid. Why did you do that? Okay, well, your definition of stupid is my definition of I was just clearly ignorant. I didn't know. And so that really aggressive approach, naturally your response, first when somebody calls us, a word or what have you that takes us from this level to this level, you don't even think about that reaction or that response. And when you're in an environment to where things can happen very, very quickly, if you don't even know what styles are even available to you and you don't know, I love to think in 2s and 3s because I feel like it keeps me, I can retain. You give me way and I'm just like, I can't remember. Person in position, it's 2. Results, relationships, it's 2. I can remember 5. But I just think to myself quickly, we have this opportunity to not react quickly. If we just, in our minds, quickly say, don't react, don't react. I might say something like, Kim, that's, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing your feelings. I can understand why you would just get from 0 to 10 really quickly. And that's all I might say. And you're like, well, what else? And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't have anything else at the moment. Because in my head, I'm saying, be quiet, don't respond. Because essentially, our relationship might not be quite so healthy if I did respond. So it's just being able to for me, the emotional meter, I listen to my emotional meter all the time. And today, and now that I'm so much more aware of it, I cannot go there quickly. Whereas, again, I believe it comes with age, maturity, experience, because by nature, we tend to come out of the gate reacting to whatever the situation is in front of us. And so, I think just recognizing, I don't like that. That's very disturbing. And I can feel it going. And I'm like, okay, just breathe because it's my relationship's important with this person and I don't want the results to be that we get into this, banging. Especially, how about when you have a customer in front of you that might not be so happy or might not be, and you want this to be out of the way because you've got other people listening. And so you're trying to keep this corralled and you say, I'm so sorry that you've experienced this. It's our goal to be sure that every customer has a good experience with us. And, well, I haven't, and blah. And I say, well, Sabrina, if you want to step aside and continue this conversation, I'm happy to do that. But otherwise, it's probably best, that we end this conversation, here and now. We want to take care of whatever your situation is. So staying in control is so incredibly important in any one of these passive, assertive, and aggressive. And just being mindful of when to be which will serve you very well. Thoughts, questions, useful, helpful?
Having a filter.
Filter, it's so important. It really, truly is. Yeah. Yeah, and it's always fun
That's
to...
all I heard the entire time. Have a filter.
And you know what? Yeah.
I have none.
Okay, well then you're my Harvey, and Harvey
I thought
recognized.
you were talking about me.
Harvey earned and learned his filter, and today when I see him, we see each other at the bank every now and then, and I know, when he calls me Miss Terri, and I'm just like, he's like, remember that? I said, Harvey, I'll never forget my experiences with you, my friend, but I say, I'm so proud of you, I'm just so proud of you. He goes, oh, you always say that, but he's loving it inside. And so it's just a matter of being able to do that. But he and I could have ended in a very tumultuous way had I not just, been mindful of results in relationship and just deciding I'm going to use my influence on him. The worst he can do is not like me, which I don't think he does anyway. So I'm not losing. Yeah. But I love that. Filter is perfect. Perfect. Awesome. I'm so honored to be here with you all today, and thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. You all matter. Yeah, and I hope some of this is, you're able to go back and no longer, we don't terminate and fire. We only end work relationships. Results is much better. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Terri. Just a reminder to be sure to fill out the evaluations that are on your table. They're the little small half-page ones. If you would like your business, if you're a chamber member, to be a business spotlighter at this breakfast, it's free. You just have to bring your stuff, talk to people while they're getting their coffee, and you have to provide a door prize. You're welcome to do that. You can sign up with Cindy or any one of us at our office. You gave her prize. Very good. Thank you. We're going to be drawing for some great door prizes this morning from our chamber members. And again, if you ever want to feature your product or service, you can do this as well. Yep.
Hi. Those of you who know me, I'm Cindy. Just to let you know, I will have forms for this little puppy later on today. We are working on our Shop Small Saturday coupon book once again this year. I mention it at this meeting because if any of you would like to put a coupon into it, please just let me know and I'll be happy to send you a form. We give out about 1,500 of these the Saturday after Thanksgiving to anybody who participates in the book. They're available with shopping bags, entry blanks to win a $100 chamber gift certificate. Last year we had like 51 coupons in here. So happy. There's no fee to do it. You do have to be a chamber member, but that's pretty much most of this room. So again, if you're interested, I will have forms ready and we'll be happy to send you one.
Thank you, Cindy. The first door prize is a $10 gift card and mug donated by Aroma Joe's, and that is going to Nick Bolliger from Sheridan Corporation. Valley Spring Essentials has donated a Bloodlust bath bomb and hand and body soap. And this is going to Sabrina Jandro from Central Maine Growth Council. We have a $25 valued stemless wine glass and opener kit donated by Maine State Credit Union. And that is going to Tammy Posonia from New Dimensions Federal Credit Union. Valley Spring Essential has also donated a purple shooter's bath bomb and hand and body soap, and that is going to Mark Thompson from Thompson Volkswagen. $25 stemless wine glass and opener kit donated by Maine State Credit Union is going to Wesley Jordan from Sheridan. All the way at the back. Where am I? New Dimensions Federal Credit Union swag bag donated by New Dimensions is going to Sam Burdick from Height. Saw her here. There she is. We have a $35 valued Fred's Coffee gift basket donated by Fred's Coffee, and that's going to Alyssa Robbins. New Dimensions Federal Credit Union also donated a $50 chamber gift certificate, and that's going to Jamie Plord of Coldwell Banker Plord Real Estate. And No Negatives Photography has donated a 15-minute photo session including 5 edited digital images and online print release valued at $100, and that is going to Kristen Overton of Skills. So again, let us know if you want to be a spotlighter, if you want to participate in the coupon book, and we thank you for being here. This concludes. It doesn't conclude? Oh, it does. Oh. Am I not done yet? Anyway, this is it. This concludes it. Have a great day, week. Hot mess.